When we started looking at Spider-Man 3, we took a look at the whole landscape. We took a look at even Spider-Man 1, the classic Spider-Man from Neversoft, but especially Spider-Man 2 and Ultimate Spider-Man, which were our most recent releases. And what we found was that we did a lot of things right, but there are a lot of things that we were sort of missing, in an action game. We had the big open world and we had really cool swinging, but what we didn't have were those very specific mission cinematic moments. It was a lot of basic stuff and not a lot of really stuff that you could sort of sink your teeth into. So we looked at consumer response. We looked at what the press was saying about Spider-Man 2 and as well as Ultimate Spider-Man. Looked at other games and film and the new movie as well. And we formed what I think is a nice blend between that GTA gameplay that you would expect from the Spider-Man games, from Spider-Man 2, as well as a really deep sort of story element that really is inspired by the movie cinematography. I don't know what I was thinking when I planned out this game. It's actually probably the biggest game that we've ever made, any groups I've run at this point, and I've worked on some pretty big ones. I think that what we wanted to do was give something for everybody. Not only did we do the Manhattan skyline and the island, but we also added a huge subway system and sewer system, and we actually have very specific key gameplay that goes into those areas. We wanted to have, bring it upstairs and downstairs, not just swinging through the city, but actually have a lot of interiors. So that's what you're going to see that's different from Spider-Man 2, is that you're going to see yourself go into these really elaborate interior environments and then have elaborate city missions as well. So I think it brings the whole thing to the table, and that's quite a bit more advanced than what we did in Spider-Man 2. So when we were looking at the game, we were focusing on Red Suit. At the time we didn't know that the black suit existed or that was what was going to be in the film, so we really focused our efforts on making sure that the Red Suit experience was the best that we'd ever done. And when Black Suit came around the corner, we realized we had a real great opportunity to actually expand Spider-Man's gameplay and take a much more edgy approach and actually allow the player to play almost two different characters. So, we have an all-new combat system, and I think the key to that is that we took, we kept it off the ground a little bit more. So you're doing a lot more aerial moves, you're doing a lot more web ties, web pulls. We have a lot more web-based combat, which was almost lacking in the last couple of games, and we really wanted to do some fun stuff with it. So we have web balls and multiple web rodeos, and as Black Suit you have this really devastating move where you actually, it's a one-button press and you actually pull every enemy that's on screen up at once and basically kill them all in one blow. So you see webs going everywhere and everybody gets pulled into one mass and he just pummels them. And then some really fun stuff like being able to hang people up from light posts and things like that. But in this case we went a little further and we decided that each appendage should be able to be webbed to a different light posts or different objects. So you can have some interesting situations where if the cops are there and you're hanging people from web posts, then they might actually be attacking them while hanging from web posts, and it's just kind of a fun little side thing that you get to do. There's no question that in Spider-Man games, camera is key, and it also is probably the most difficult task of any game that's out there. He moves extremely quickly, and he crawls on any surface, and basically you have to have a camera that adjusts to all of those situations. So moving 200 miles per hour and doing so upside down is a tricky proposition. But what we did is we took the best of what we had in Spider-Man 2 and we translated the USM stuff into those things, and we looked at each situation and we wanted to frame the action appropriately while still giving people control over the camera. So that's the tricky part, right? He's moving really quickly and you want people to be able to control the camera. So only in certain situations do we lock the camera down, so they really have free-form gameplay experience. But we did make these really huge environments so that not only could you traverse these huge environments and it seemed bigger than life, but also it manages the camera a lot better because you're able to frame the things you want to frame and really see the whole landscape really well. So in Spider-Man 3, we, especially in regards to the boss fight experience, we really wanted to bring a lot of things to the table. We not only built sort of big arena-based areas for them to be played in, we also really played up the characters. They're much more, you know, in your face than they were before, much smarter. But it's important to know that we have both, you know, what would be considered more traditional melee type gameplay using the combat system and the webs and things like that, but we also have this really cool interactive setup where when you get the enemy character in certain situations, you can actually pull off special moves on them, and those things are framed, you know, just like the movie would be. So whether it be right in the middle of a fight or whether it be the big finisher, you get to do this really cool, you know, dynamic Spider-Man or black-suited Spider-Man-like move on these enemies, and you know, in most cases it ends pretty badly for the enemy as long as you're doing your job right. We've improved the game on all fronts, but in AI in particular, we wanted the enemies to act more appropriately in certain situations. We wanted them to flee, we wanted them to be able to take people as hostages, we wanted them to be able to attack aggressively or in packs, and all of those things ended up coming to be. So each time you fight a new group of guys, you know, you're obviously getting stronger as the game's going on, but they're obviously getting smarter and maybe in some cases actually taking more damage or doing more damage. So we have a really nice curve of enemies that you come up against as you go through the course of the game. You know, the coolest thing about working on next-gen stuff now, from my perspective anyway, is that, and my artists will hate me for saying this, but we almost get the art for free now. Yeah, we work really hard and the technology has to support that, but as designers we're actually able to focus more on gameplay and scenarios like that, and AI, and we're just touching the surface on it right now, but it's going to be much better moving forward for game design and players to experience this stuff and it still look really great. So I think you end up getting the best of both worlds. So the main difference between the SKUs is on the 360 and the PS3 are primarily the same except for we have a special unlockable in the CE version of PlayStation 3, which actually allows you to use the 6-axis controller and actually control Goblin and a bunch of new gameplay. I can't talk about the specifics of what that gameplay is, but it's a whole new part of the game and actually allows the player to play a totally different experience. And not only are you able to play, you know, red suit Spider-Man, play black suit Spider-Man, which is, you know, quite different than red suit, but you also get to play as Goblin in this game, which is quite unique. So, Spider-Man 3 comes out day and date with the movie, May 4th. We're really excited about having people play it. Comes out on the Xbox 360, the PS3, the Wii, the PS2, the PC, the GBA, and the DS. Look for it.